Welcome everyone to the Voice of Terminus show. It's Tuesday, the final Tuesday of the month, so that means it's Tavern Talk. You might have noticed that we didn't do a Tavern Talk in October, and that was because of the break that we had. So we're going to cover some of the things that's happened in October as well, meaning the newsletter. We're going to fly over that, the November newsletter. Oh, and I forgot to say hello, Lex.
Hi.
We're going to cover some minor things, some VR Pantheon news, some of the polls they did. We're not going to go too much into detail on this show. We're going to keep it strictly towards information that is of value to everybody. We're going to talk about VR being at Twitchcon and a little bit of the streaming program that they announced, some of the dev diaries that Brad put out, and talk about the streams, the 3 streams that they put out there, the technical art, the TwitchCon stream where they made the big announcements, and this past stream as well, the making of a city. And then we're going to go into other news, so don't expect too much of a long show. So do you want to go and kick off the polls that VR put out in October, November?
Sure thing. These are in no particular order. The first one was, if you could go to any convention, which con would you choose? Now, the choices were PAX or PAX East, which was at 30%, TwitchCon at 14%, E3 was the winner at 41%, and others at 15%. I'm not really sure what one I would choose. I'm more likely to say PAX East because I'm on the East Coast.
Mm-hmm.
What about you?
Well, obviously, me being in Germany, it would be the Gamescom. That's the closest thing. You know, it's a 2-hour drive for me, so it makes it pretty easy to get down there. I would love to visit the E3, or the PAX, or TwitchCon. If I ever get the chance to come visit the US, I'll make sure that I go and see one of those 3 as well.
Very cool. Next up is, where are you from? We're truly a global community. And North or South America won with an overwhelming 72%, followed up by Europe or Australia with 26%, Africa and Asia only 1%, 1% remaining for somewhere else. Now, these are only representative numbers of those who are interested in Pantheon and use Twitter.
Yep.
So naturally, they're probably going to be all over the place.
Yeah.
Not so one-sided. But obviously, North America and Europe for us.
Yep.
So next up, those of you in the United States, where are you? Let's see here. We got 23% for the West Coast. The winner at 40% was the East Coast, which includes myself. 21% for Midwest, which is where I used to be. And then 16% for the South.
That's actually a pretty interesting number, 40% East Coast. For those that voted, obviously, on Twitter, that's actually quite high a number. I would have expected the West Coast, personally, to be a bit larger.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting when you look at it, because when you think like heavily populated areas on the East Coast, you usually think of like New York. The West Coast, you got like Los Angeles, you know. So you'd expect those to be a little more even. Midwest, I mean, you got Chicago, but then again, on the East Coast, I forgot there's also Boston. So
yeah,
I think there probably is more larger cities on the East Coast, so it does make sense. And the next up is, if you could choose only one, would you be a 23% said Gnome Enchanter? The winner at 29% says Human Wizard, followed by 25% Ogre Shaman, and 23% Halfling Rogue.
And still no love for the Scar.
Nope. I expect it, though. I expect it. I'm used to it.
That's still a fairly evened out process.
It was very close.
Yep, definitely.
I will say that I'm kind of surprised that Human Wizard won. I really expected the gnome enchanter to be much higher, simply because of the difference between your stereotypical gnome and Pantheon gnomes. And obviously, there's a love for casters here in this poll.
Yeah.
And let's face it, guys, enchanters are just bad mothers. I don't know what I think I'd probably have to choose the ogre shaman.
Yay! That's what I did.
But the gnome enchanter would be a very close second for me. And yes, there's no paladin love. There's very, very little. Well, let's face it, the polls can't be super huge. There can't be a lot of options. Otherwise, we'd see every combination that there is, and that'd be a mighty large poll. The last one, what device do you use most often to interact with social media? 29% said iPhone, 38% the winner says Android, 31% said PC, 2% said tablet. I will say that most tablets either run Android or iOS, so I don't know. Personally, my vote is for PC. I do have an Android device. I just don't like the app that I use, and I've just been too lazy to find a good one. So
and plus, my eyes, for instance, play a role as well. I do have trouble sometimes on my mobile
why I
phone.
have a large phone.
Yeah, exactly. So let's go and talk about some of the stuff that Brad put out there, and we'll start off with a post that was, or an interview basically, with Brad McQuaid talking about, I want to make worlds, not games. Kind of talks about how his experiences has been going through EverQuest Vanguard and what he's working on today, and his approach to the development process, the designing of this game, and why he wants, well, basically to make worlds and not just a game. And it's a very interesting read. I'm going to link the post in Twitch chat for you guys also to give it a read if you missed it, because it's actually quite a interesting read here. MMO developers are making the very, very early foundations of holodeck, letting people recreate the 1930s or build new virtual world. MMOs are the genius of that, basically. And
Genesis.
Or Genesis, yeah. And it's not a game that you can just flash 20 seconds of video and viewers are going to go, okay, yeah, I get it. So he put a lot of thought into this, and it's a very in-depth look into the mind of Brad McQuaid going through this. So definitely give that a read if you missed it. A lot of information in there, a good way to see behind the scenes what the master is thinking about and why he's thinking about approaching games in this sense. Then we have some dev diaries that Brad posted as well. The first one was matchmaking systems, what we're up to and why, part 1. So we can expect a part 2 at some point. And a typical Brad post addressing all the issues, the LFG tool, basically, and looking at it from a broader perspective, not just a tool that you open up, you put yourself into a pool that you're looking for a group, and off you go, like a dungeon find. It's more about how you can connect later on or after you've actually got together with somebody and gone through a dungeon or gone on an adventure together. How you can make that bond be something of value going forward, to help keep those friends together in a group. It goes into a lot of the individual systems, and it's a typical Brad post, full of thought and well thought through. So I'll link that one as well into Twitch chat for you guys, so you can give that a read. And then another post he made on the 2nd of November was community, content and alternate rule sets, talking a bit about the community in general, the content and alternate rule sets. also looking at some of the aspects of some MMOs that are currently out there with the way they approach things and why he sees it slightly differently. So that's definitely, again, another well thought out post. A lot of information in it. So if you haven't read it, I strongly suggest giving this
highly recommended.
Yeah, a read.
And I will say that I know on past speculation shows I have been very outspoken about LFG tools and systems. I should clear up that it's not the LFG tool itself that I'm usually against. It's the ones that are done poorly. This post kind of makes me feel like they understand what makes a good LFG system and what makes a poor LFG system.
Yeah.
So reading it, it kind of made me feel like I'm willing to give them the chance to do a proper one instead of just being, I don't like it, that I usually am.
Yeah, the interesting thing is the approach that they're trying to make, where you have all these individual tools at your disposal, where you can group together, go into dungeons, this, that, and the other. But they're trying to actually modernize it. To use if you want, and to modernize it so they coexist and actually have functions or mixed functions or, multiple functions together, giving you a true socializing experience and helping you along the way as well, and going forward. So,
well, as I gotta say though, that post is also a small part of the whole transparency of their development. You're getting an idea of what their mindset is when they're going to look at a specific system. So before they even start technically working on it, you can kind of get an idea of where it could go.
And that's, another reason why as well, we should give these developers time to do their thing, because they put a lot of thought into everything they touch, everything they approach, and we should reward them for that by giving them all the time they need and to help give them feedback. Talk about some of the mentioned systems or ideas that they have. Talk about some of the worries people have, the concerns, some of the issues that could technically happen, and also, the good things about it, and expand on it. That's why we do the show, for instance, to kind of expand and bounce off some of these ideas from Visionary Realms, the community itself, to see where we can take these suggested systems, ideas, thoughts, and what the potential risks possibly could be. Now, we haven't done a lot of risk assessment, but it's something we will approach when the time comes. Anyway, let's go and move on to some of the other things as well. So, we are at Twitchcon 2017 this year, and Basgrin, for instance, won tickets to go there. And he was the first person from the community to actually go and be able to play Pantheon. And he actually did a few video logs on this whole thing. So I'm going to go and link his channel for you guys to catch up on all of that. And we also did an interview with Basgrim where he talked about his experience at TwitchCon and talked about a lot about the game, how it felt. He was allowed to share all that information with us, what he experienced. A few little tidbits were in there as well. Some little hidden goodies of when he went through the game. And we actually went quite in depth on all the mechanics and what he witnessed and how it felt. So I'm going to go and give you guys the link to that interview as well. We're going to share some photos later on from TwitchCon when we hit the VR streams. I'm going to put up the screenshots before we go into the videos. Let me quickly find this video from Basgrim. Up.
I say, don't ask me the number because I have no idea. I didn't even realize it was Tuesday, so.
No worries. Oh, there we go. And it's a long show, so please bear with us. We definitely took that one. That was a lengthy show. So here's a link to that full interview with Basgrim as he talked about his experience at Twitchcon and getting to sit down and play the game and meet up with some of the folk that were there. But another interesting thing was the streaming program that was announced by VR that is set to launch in 2018. It's not just addressed to all the big name streamers. It's addressed to the to the general people that are interested in streaming, and obviously fit a certain criteria. Be able to participate in this. There are some goodies to come with that. Sit down with devs and good playthroughs or interviews and stuff like that are some of the possibilities that could happen. Showing off the game or some of the game assets with the devs. So if anybody out there is planning on streaming or does stream, wants to stream Pantheon and is interested in getting into that, make sure to keep an eye out for all the news on this. And if you watch the stream that I linked from our YouTube channel, I think Asgrim also gives out some information on that as well, a little more in depth.
A little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, they're still ironing out all the details,
so expect that to hit us sometime in 2018. Another big one was as well. We have to talk about the. They announced basically that pre-alpha will be coming by the holidays. So 2017, we must make that also noted. 2017 by the end of the year.
They'll be here in time for the holidays.
In time for the holidays. But the important thing is, on the last stream that they did, the making of a city, they mentioned that until the 26th, which is now bypassed, midnight PST time, you were able to basically buy into the VIP pledges on the monthly payment method. Yeah. That has now been scrapped. You can still get into the VIP, but it's a one-time payment. So you have to put down at least $1,000 exactly to one lump sum.
Like me, you put that down and you hit the go button and you're like, oh, instant regret. What have I done?
So
my wife's gonna be so mad.
Yes. But you can still get in. But this is also now limited until the 20th of December. That's when the VIP pledges will be removed from purchasing. So you have until the 20th of December this year. To be on the safe side, I'd say the 19th midnight to basically get in if you're interested. So it's not completely gone yet, but it will be disappearing. That's definitely something that's going to happen as we get closer and closer towards pre-alpha. So that's all the VR Pantheon news. On that note, let's go and move on to the October-November newsletter, shall we? We're going to bring up October's newsletter. So, let's go and check it out. So in October's newsletter, we basically covered the bigger portion of this newsletter, which is basically about the halflings. They went into quite a lot of detail on this, talking about the lore in depth, addressing or basically adding to what we already know about this race. And they shared a lot of concept art. We had
which is beautiful, by the way.
Definitely. We had Forrest Email, Jared Pullen, Justin Gerhardt, and Chris Perkins, address all of this. They showed off some of the earliest art assets, some of the art from the design of the halflings, how they live, and it's definitely very interesting. These halflings have taken a complete different look to what we generally know from the Tolkien hobbits. There's no hairy feet. They seem to be a bit more agile. And the best way to describe it is basically thinking about Hook, Rufio's Rough Boys. That's how you could basically picture these. But if you want to find out more about the halflings, I definitely suggest going into the October newsletter, giving that a full-blown read. They show us some of the technical creation of how they approach the character imagery, and then they also address one.
Well, I gotta say, I was a little disappointed that there were no Wood Elves, because coming from EverQuest myself, I always liked the Wood Elves. I mean, their city was really cool, you know, pretty decent stats, made great rangers, and it kind of felt like it was missing. But these halflings really feel like the merge of the Wood Elves and your traditional halflings.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you could almost look at them and be like, technically they're just really short half-elf or Wood Elves, you know. I think it's a step in a very good direction. All of that particular newsletter actually made me feel like maybe I could stand playing a halfling.
Yep.
Just don't repeat that.
And on the Community Spotlight in October, they interviewed Sacred. He's also streaming regularly, and he does do some Pantheon talk. Let's talk Pantheon. I'll see if I can find his Twitch channel real quick. I'll give him a
little shout out.
A little shout out. Yep. Sacred. Throw that in there. So definitely give him a follow. He streams Eastern times. I think from 10 p.m. to about 1 p.m. 1 a.m. normally is when he streams. You can catch him most of the week, apart from the weekends, I think. And he talks about Pantheon, similar to what we do, brainstorming, speculation, talking about a few ideas. They also addressed some other aspects. I'm trying to think, where was this? That was that. John is... I think it's art. Yeah, they also briefly touched on the Archai and the elves in the October newsletter as well. So we might see one of the two in the coming months, similar maybe in the style of the October newsletter. So they might address those in a similar manner, which I'm looking forward to. Doesn't matter what race they release the info on, but it's definitely. I really thought that this October newsletter was really, really interesting. There's a lot of lore behind it. It's not everyone's cup of tea, but you'll see basically how important the lore is to Pantheon, and that it is a major part of the game. It's what basically drives the world that Brad's trying to create, and yeah, give that a read. And then
I guarantee you that when the Scar one comes out, I am printing it out.
I know you will. And then they did the November newsletter, recaps on Twitch, about TwitchCon, favourite moments. But the interesting thing about this one was the introduction of Kim, David, and Bruno. Bruno, we all met on the technical art stream. He was the guy behind all of that, which we'll share with you guys in a minute. But they basically introduced Kim Morrison, who's a QA lead, a bit about himself and how he got involved and kinds of goodies. And David Schlow, the director of promotional content, he's the guy who did the advertisements for the bus stations for the SDCC, did all the presentations at TwitchCon and so forth, flyer designs. and all that good stuff. And then they have Bruno Rhyme, technical artist, and what an artist he is. He showed some of his creativity, his art off in the first technical stream that they did, and we're going to basically jump into that in a minute. And then they had a develop. Right, who did they have this time? It was Helinin. I don't know how to pronounce that name. Basically, Kalenin, yeah. Let's go with that. We'll go with that, Kalenin. I'm sorry if I'm slaughtering your name.
Blame me.
They interviewed him and got to know a little bit about him. And another person that seems to like the Dark Mirror, so that's all good. Mir fans, we need more.
Yes, we do, because I need my Friday fish fry.
Yeah, otherwise you won't leave me alone. So let's go and get into the technical art of Pantheon Rise of the Fallen. We're basically going to put this video up on screen, and Lex is going to try and go through
I'll talk
some
just
of
a
what
little. I'll be more rambling than anything, because honestly, you need to watch the video. Okay.
Yep.
What you basically covered in this video is how they have changed and adapted a lot of their systems. Well, I shouldn't say adapted, I should say evolved their systems since the stream before that. If you go to watch the stream that was before this, you're going to notice that everything's kind of dark and gritty, which is my personal style of graphics. I love that. But this one, the gamma is actually much higher than normal, just to show off a lot of stuff. But they worked some technical magic on shadows, on lighting. The grass now has collision to it. The clouds are procedurally generated. There was a little bit of talk about weather, though they didn't really show us much. So fingers crossed. They've talked a little bit about like water, how you're going to be able to see splashes and ripples when you're in the water. There was no talk about, say, like collision of seaweed underwater. That's one of these things we're going to have to wait and see. Mm-hmm. A lot of the textures, like for the armors, got a little update to them. And honestly, they've done a wonderful job, because I'm the first person who will say guts before glitter, meaning gameplay before graphics. But these graphics are very nice now. They were very, 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 very rough in the early days, and a lot of you out there know what stream I'm talking about.
And the clip distance as well was also, you know, very interesting to see how vast and far you can actually go and see, and how it kind of moves apart.
It really goes a long way to making the world feel like a vast world. I mean, you can even see when they were looking at the mountain range, the peaks in the back almost have a haze to them, which really makes them feel far away. And the fact that you can see this gigantic city that even from a very, very long distance away takes up a very large portion of your screen. I mean, you know that sucker's going to be huge, which you will see in the more recent stream. But yeah, everything they've done, down to reflections, to water, to the shadows, to lighting, super amount of improvements. They're not just using the basic Unity technology, they're actually improving upon it.
Yeah, that's what they did with the water. You know, Bruno basically went in there and created their own water technology to coexist with the Unity engine. They took it to a complete new level that even Unity didn't think was possible, and it's really, really cool to see how the development process is starting to move forward, and, you know, to show off how pretty and graphically nice the game can look, because that is, for some people, or for quite a lot of people, a major concern. in this day and age, they want pretty graphics, but
Right.
also a cool gaming experience.
Yeah.
And it's something that VR can definitely do. But we have to support them with that. They're definitely gonna need a lot of time to get this all in. And that's the great thing though about the Unity engine, how powerful this tool is, even looking to the future going forward with upgrading some of the graphical elements and stuff. It's a very powerful engine that they've got behind them that allows for these upgrades to happen, even though the game might be 2-3 years old.
Right. It's a tool that fits their needs almost perfectly.
Yeah.
Because they're not a large studio. They don't have the manpower to create a lot of their own foundation technology. They can't make their own graphics engine. They can't make their own physics engine. I mean, they have the ability to, but they just don't have the spare time to do it. And that's why Unity is the perfect tool for them. And the fact that they can take it further than most people can even expect is great. I mean, that's a great shout out to Unity and to Visionary Realms.
Yep. Now on the screen, you basically see the area where it's all foggy. This foggy is randomly generated.
Volumetric.
Yep, and you can basically see when they get closer to a certain element in the world, or an area, or a building, or structure, or an animal, the fog starts to clear out, so you can basically see it. But you can see the fog in the distance, around the characters, around the elements, and it gives a nice vibe off. That's the kind of vibe I expect. When I'm out in a dangerous area. It's morning, or it's evening, or it's just a nasty place. I get that vibe from this area. I respect what is happening, and also the audio, visual audio that they showed off as well on this particular scene, where you could hear the crow fly from the left to the right or to the center. You can actually hear that follow through.
Yeah, you can follow the sound. So the sound's actually attached to the object in the world that's moving, which doesn't sound like a big deal. It sounds like something that, everybody should do anyway. But the thing is, there's a lot of games out there that they don't. For example, there's a game I play that it bugs me to no end that I run through a field and I hear wolves howling and birds screeching, but I look around and there's nothing.
Yep. And then they basically showed off on the final scene was Halnir's Cave. A major update to that area. And it's really starting to come along. Don't expect the game to look like this all over the place right now. There's still a lot of work to go, but with this stream, they basically went out their way to address the issue or the concerns that a lot of people had for the game still looking, fairly 2004-ish, 2005-ish. And with this technical update, they basically raised the bar and say, hey, look, this is 2017, and these are the graphics we're going to have for 2017. So I hope that puts a lot of concerns that people have out of the way.
Yeah, and they're not done yet either, I don't believe.
Definitely. Still a lot of work to go. And then they were at TwitchCon, stage segment with the pre-alpha launch announcement. Nothing really worthwhile to show here. But this is where they basically announced that pre-alpha will be starting by the end of the year, coming in time for the holidays of 2017. So that was a big announcement that they made at TwitchCon. And Benjamin Dean, Director of Communication, was there. David Schlow, content producer.
I feel bad for David.
Yeah, he
had so many issues.
That's some issues, unfortunately, during that live presentation where they talked about Pantheon the game. It was unlucky, but still,
Still got to look at it.
They got to look at it, and the announcement overshadowed that little hiccup. But that's the first time that they've actually had an issue with the game. This is something to note. This was the first time that something like this has happened. On all the other streams that they've done with Co and themselves and everything, I didn't find any glitches. Minor things happen. A griffin flying in the sky or whatever, or the NPC encounter following them all the way through the city. Minor bugs, but yeah. And then just recently, the making of a city stream. Now, this again was an absolute informative stream, and you could see and hear and feel for these guys, the amount of love and passion that they put into this game, or they're putting into this game. They talked, I think, about 10, 15 minutes maybe about the door. It felt like it anyway.
Just about the door, and they kind of give you a little bit of a heads up or an idea of what the process really involves. Not in a super amount of detail, but still, I mean, if they're willing to put that much effort into a door, I feel good about what they're going to do to the characters.
Yeah, definitely. And they showed off.
It's also a nice sneak peek for the VIPs who will be in pre-alpha testing in time for the holidays. I mean, you're not going to jump into Pantheon and have a complete, ready-to-go game. I mean, there's going to be boxes, there's going to be content missing, there's going to be NPCs missing. It's something I felt it's a really very good thing that they did this, because now a lot of the pre-alpha people are kind of know what to expect, and you're not going to come into the game and feel disappointed.
And another thing to point out as well, there are some people that do not care for lore at all, but it's clearly noted that for Pantheon, lore is very important to the development of the game. Alone in this stream, the amount of detail and thought put into the lore as to why this door's like this, and why the entrance is like that, and why this area on the left is the way it is, and the right, and with the with the market area, the forum. There's so much detail and passion put into the lore behind it that creates these assets and the game that we are, going to see on the screen. And what Lex was talking about, basically, I'll show you guys now. Some of the concept art. Again, beautiful. So you have these. Get into the city. So they talked about this entrance having two lions. And also, again, an audio-visual effect that would basically determine what kind of music you're going to hear. When you get in to the left, you have battle cries, more battle-driven music elements is where the armory is, Tavern, the social aspect of things. And on the right side, you would have the priests, and that's where you would hear more melancholic music.
More mellow, relaxing music.
And you can see all these great boxes. This is what Lex was basically talking about. These are mostly some of the things that people that will go into pre-alpha and start testing the game will witness and see throughout time. And there's reasons behind why they do this. It helps them better understand the coalition on how these elements work with each other, look to each other, and before they go in and put down a full texture and whack it up, they can basically see if everything's fitting correctly. And those are not the final products. They're just basically placeholders.
Rough outlines so that they can get a visual idea of what it's going to look like, where it should be. That way they can move it and do all this other stuff without having to worry about getting a lot of the detail right. They put it in, they slowly work on the little doodads and the wall textures and smoothing everything out to give it that proper look that they want.
Yep. There's a tavern. They talked about the marketplace a bit. Peace make. I can't remember the name for the lot of me. But again, here a lot of thought. Something that we also speculated on, bouncing some ideas off. But you can see again the passion, the love put behind the concept art that comes on screen, and the thought process behind it. These on the second screenshot with the green cloth on top, you have the other color schemes that would basically describe the different kinds of market stalls that are out there. Textile, foods, you name it, going forward. But the most noticeable or notable element of this stream was definitely the forum. I think a lot of people are super hyped to see that in its prime, and I would definitely like to hear or get to know some of the lore behind all of this. Can't wait to see it. That anvil again sounds really interesting.
Yeah, it does.
And you can see, with these concept arts, these screenshots that they're sharing of the design, how much thought is actually put into it.
Oh yeah, they're doing the floor plans, making sure the building flows. Like if this was built for priests, how would it be laid out?
Yep.
They actually think about that rather than just like most games, just go make a temple. It looks like a temple, throw it in. Next.
Yep. You can see, how the shadows are working, the trees bouncing off, the different structures and all that good stuff. So those were the streams that they put out there. We hope to see more
if you haven't
in the near
watched
future.
Them, I suggest you queue them up. Go make yourself some popcorn and have a blast.
Yep, definitely worth the watch. So let's go and bring up the screenshots that they had when they were at Twitchcon. I'm just going to go, these are all random. You see Jinx, Brad, and help me out.
I don't remember.
At Twitchcon, meeting up.
The only way I remember my own name is because it's written on my underwear.
So there's Basgrim playing Pantheon with Brad. And meeting some of the fans.
I'm not jealous of Baz at all. Nope.
There you can see some of the art assets on the left where Brad's sitting. You got the human in the background. On the right, I can't wait. I can't wait to see that. Humans really look noble, fierce,
and tender. Yeah, I'm a born scar.
You certainly are. So again, if you guys, people out there still interested in getting into the VIPs, you have until the 20th of December to do that. It's a lump sum, a one-time payment. They took away the monthly payments on the 26th of this month. So that time is now passed, but you can still get in. And
if you were on the fence, now is the time to really give it some serious thought.
Yep, check out all the videos out there. Check out all the other streamers out there, Sacred. Check our channel out for information. Read up on the articles on MMORPG.com. Even talk to the people that are already committed. Get their thoughts and their insight on it, because you have until the 20th to get in, and after that it will be scrapped, and you'll only have the chance after that to get into alpha or beta. And there's the first unofficial Pantheon, where they sat down, had a few drinks.
I was there in spirit.
Yeah. So are we? Yep. Okay, and we're done. So coming up this Thursday, we'll be doing a show on a reputation system. Now we know there's reputation does matter. Reputation will be in the game. It's already in the game in the form of like faction is something you can see reputation being. What we're trying to do is bring in a system that can coexist with existing systems like faction, and kind of spice it up and actually have reputation be an additional system that you have that does affect your character and the way you go forward. So we'll be talking about that on Thursday. I'll be releasing the December calendar also by Friday, I want to say. So you should have the December calendar on Friday, so you can see what's coming up.
We'll say Monday just to make it easy on them.
Okay. And yeah, that's Tavern talk today. Like we said,
it's a shorter one.
Well, actually, we still got 47 minutes in. That's actually pretty.
Oh my god!
I think that's still the normal time.
I gotta learn to talk faster.
It's all good, man. Yeah, so we thought we'd cover, the more important stuff and what's been going on. It was fairly quiet in October, November with VR, but they obviously had the Twitchcon going on, the preparations that they were making, the streams, so
they were plenty busy.
Yep, definitely. And we will see you all on Thursday. Same channel, different show. Voice of Terminus show. With that, guys, we hope you enjoyed this episode. We'll have it up on YouTube for you to catch on VOD, the latest tomorrow. And we'll see you on Thursday. Thank you guys for watching, and catch you next time.
Be safe, everybody.